Our next interviewee has experienced a different sort of action. In 2004, the world's media flashed graphic scenes of BBC correspondent Frank Gardner, left for dead after being shot by terrorists in Saudi Arabia.
Frank has had an enduring love affair with the Middle East and was determined to return to the job he loved. Fresh back from Afghanistan, I caught up with Frank at the BBC Television Centre in London.
You know, they ambushed us, basically. They boxed us in, shot my cameraman dead, shot me. I started to run. The bullet went through my shoulder. I carried on running. They shot me again in the leg, brought me down, and then put 4 more bullets into me and left me for dead.
Frank Gardner, BBC security correspondent. This time telling his own story. Frank's just back from an assignment in Afghanistan.
You can talk about that in principle.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll bring him in probably he's coming at 2. I'll have a coffee with him and then I'll take him round and then bring him in here. Cool.
He's agreed to let me turn the tables and interview him at the BBC Television Centre in London. Frank's the BBC's expert on security issues in the Arab region. He spent 20 years studying the Islamic culture and perfecting his fluent Arabic. Frank's written an autobiography, Blood and Sand, that's part an ode to the Middle East and part harrowing account of his shooting. It's fantastic, thanks very much.
You're really welcome. Okay, it's a well-thumbed copy, I'm
glad
glad to see.
Yeah, it's been inspirational.
Go out and buy
stories.
some more copies.
The book describes his recovery from the random attack by Muslim extremists in 2004.
And it'll be an NZ as well. I was never a flak jacket journalist. I never wanted to go and be in a danger zone. But, you know, I did believe in taking sensible, calculated risks. And going to Saudi Arabia was a sensible, calculated risk. It wasn't a dangerous thing to do. We were just very unlucky. Wrong place, wrong time. We had Saudi government minders with us. They took us to an area that was supposedly peaceful, but by very bad luck, an Al-Qaeda team were driving past, saw us. In a way, it was a racist killing. They saw 2 white guys filming. Even though we had Saudi government minders with us, they were unarmed. So they decided, great opportunity, let's kill the infidel. So, you know, they ambushed us, basically. They boxed us in, shot my cameraman dead, shot me. I started to run. The bullet went through my shoulder. I carried on running. They shot me again in the leg, brought me down, and then put 4 more bullets into me and left me for dead.
One of the bullets hit his spinal cord, resulting in paraplegia. Severe internal injuries and infections meant he was also fighting for his life. It was often touch and go.
My guts were shot to pieces. I had all sorts of problems, some of which linger, persist today, but, you know, because I took 6 bullets, it wasn't just a single break.
Frank endured countless operations over 7 months. Recovery was difficult, mentally and physically.
The fact that, you know, I had no life below the knees meant that, you know, that I wasn't going to walk, and that was really tough. It was the thought of all the things I was no longer going to be able to do, which was a really low period. When I came back, the BBC were very gentle. They said, like, you know, don't go gung-ho about it, just do a few hours a day, maybe 3 days a week, something like that. Thanks to my wife, who is a New Zealander, Amanda, thanks to her, I bounced back fairly quickly, and we have kids. We have 2 girls, and who are New Zealand nationals, and thanks to us being a family, and also coming back to a meaningful job at work. It was not just sort of, oh God, you know, poor bloke, he's had a tough time. Let's give him a job and keep him busy.
4 years on, Frank's venturing back into the field, although that's creating some flack at home.
I didn't actually tell my wife that I was going to Afghanistan because I didn't want her to worry. I knew it was safe. It was completely safe where I went. I mean, the only danger was overeating, frankly. You know.
Has she since found out?
Oh, of course. As soon as I got back, I mean, I said, you know, guess where I've been. I might as well tell you now. She was very good about it. She said, that was naughty. I understand why you did it. That was naughty, though. In future, I want to know. So I did it because I didn't want her. I rang her every day when I was away, and admittedly, I did have trouble explaining, you know, what's that roaring noise in the background? It's a plane taking us, you know, a couple of F-15s taking off on a long-range raid or something, you know, it's kind of hard to explain.
Frank's always been an adventurer. That hasn't changed. His latest challenge? Competing as a disabled slalom skier on some of Europe's toughest runs. But professionally, He accepts that some things are now out of reach.
What I can no longer do is what I would call rucksack journalism, which to me is a really pure, good form of journalism, which is actually where I used to just, every now and then just say, right, it's time to get back to the heart of the story, put a small rucksack on my shoulder, pack a tiny camera, folding telescopic tripod, head off to somewhere like Yemen, and just go and interview people in the back streets without minders, without interpreters, because I speak Arabic, without interpreters, without crew, sorry guys, but just nice and light, on my own, and just let people tell me their opinions. And which was fascinating, because often it can be as blunt as George Bush, he is terrorist, Osama bin Laden, he is good man.
Were there some people who expected you just to stay at your desk?
Yeah, I think people have left it up to me, really, which is exactly how it should be. I mean, I like that. I mean, I think initially people weren't sure how much to sort of cotton wool me. And in fact, I took it as a great compliment. It's like, oh, we better not criticise him because he's in a wheelchair and he might be all upset. You know, it's nice to move on beyond that.
In 2005, Frank was awarded an OBE from the Queen for services to journalism. For months he trained on calipers, determined he would stand proudly to accept the honour.
I just thought, she's my sovereign, I'm going to stand up for this. But of course I'm tottering very unsteadily on, with a frame, with a Zimmer frame. And the palace staff just did not want me to be standing. They said, we'd really much rather serve you, we're in a wheelchair for this. And I thought, well, F you, I'm going to stand up for this. So I sort of battered them away and tottered towards them. They were convinced I was going to collapse on top of her and there was going to be a sort of international incident, but there wasn't. Because I've come through all of this mentally unscathed so far, touch wood, without any obvious bitterness, people are crediting me with more wisdom than I've actually got. They like the fact that I'm able to talk objectively about the whole Al-Qaeda thing without ranting and raving. I'm not in any way anti-Muslim. I'm able to separate out the people who shot us, who attacked us, who were cowardly extremists, who were picking on innocent, unarmed civilians. I'm able to separate them from the mainstream of Muslim society who condemned what happened to us. I didn't want to go to a combat zone. I would not go to a fire base that was under attack or go to a place where there was a good chance that someone was going to come and nick the wheelchair. I mean, that would just be stupid. Yeah. But apart from that, there really are very few limits. It was not the story that they wanted it to be, I think.
Frank Gardner. An inspirational guy, and he reminds me there's very little I can't do and there's still loads of places to explore. Enjoy the Lamingtons, Kurt?
Yep.